Hey, what's up, YouTube? I'm posting on this channel again, potentially. Who knows? So yeah, I'm back with another one of my wargaming stories, and this time is the time that I top forward an armada tournament with the worst admiral in the game. So this was back in 2019. Maybe 2018, I can't exactly remember when this was. And there was I think it was just a store championship, but it was a big one. There was like 24, 25 people there. So that's pretty big for a Armada tournament. And some friends were coming up from, or coming down, sorry, from Ottawa. And so I was going to the tournament just to see them again, basically. And I'd been out the meta for Armada. And so I was like, well, okay, like, I had this meme build back when I lived in Ottawa that I'd made because Admiral Konstantine, which I have no idea how Armada changed. I know they changed some rules that made him like a lot better. At least I heard that from someone, but I don't know. I haven't played the game in years. He was considered to be the worst admiral in the game, and I actually don't think he was, but he was definitely one of them. And so he was, as somebody who likes to try and take the least popular stuff and try and sort of break it in games, I was never a meta chaser particularly. So I decided that I was going to try and break Admiral Konstantine, and I tried a few times in the past. Basically, what Admiral Konstantine did was he was 24 points, which was pretty cheap. He was one of the cheaper admirals in the game. And his ability was at the beginning of your turn, or the beginning of the round. I can't exactly remember when he triggered, actually, but basically, you could pick an enemy ship, any number of enemy ships that were within engagement range of at least 2 of your medium or large ships, and you could increase or decrease that ship's speed by 1 to a minimum of 1. You couldn't stop them. If he could do that, he would have been amazing, but he couldn't do that. And the problem was that the Imperials didn't really have a lot of spammable medium ships. You wanted 3 medium-based ships for this, and the Imperials only had the Victory class Star Destroyer, which was considered the worst ship in the game, and the Interdictor, which was considered overcosted for what it did. And you could have taken ISDs, but by that point, for his ability, it really wasn't that worth it. So the list I'd done before was triple victories with Konstantine, and the problem with the Victory is it's the Victory Star Destroyer. It's overcosted. It was the first Imperial ship in the game. Power creep. It got power crept out immediately by the actual ISD. It could not maneuver. It had a maximum speed of 2. And it was just the worst Star Destroyer in every way. It only had 1 rear shield. It couldn't take electronic countermeasures. And so its single brace token just got like accuracy'd out. It was just altogether a very, very bad ship. And it still had Command 3, so it was as slow to react as a Imperial Star Destroyer. So it was just a terrible ship all around. But I liked the Victory Star Destroyer, and me being me, wanting to play the worst thing in the game, I was like, we're going to do this. And some upgrades were released with the... I can't remember the name of the ship. It began with Q, and I can never pronounce it. It was like a troop transport for the... also like a fighter carrier. It had Admiral Sloan in it. Was the Admiral that came with it for the Imperials. And there was 2 upgrades in that kit that, when looking at that, I was like, okay. I think it was me and one of the Armada guys we were looking at, were like, there's some potential here. And so there were 2 upgrades. The first one was an upgrade called Disposable Capacitors, which was a 3-point upgrade. It was single use. And what it did was, once per game, you could discard this upgrade to fire your blue dice at maximum range. Because in Armada, you have 3 ranges on the range ruler. Long range, which is just red dice. Medium range, which is red and blue dice. And then close range, which is blue, black, and red dice. Now, red dice dealt good damage, but they were very inaccurate. Black dice dealt the most damage, but were also somewhat inaccurate. Blue dice couldn't miss. They just did the least damage. But they couldn't miss. That was the important thing with them. And so, this allowed you to perform some pretty brutal alpha strikes. The other upgrade was a 5-point cannon called Quad Laser Turrets, which was, when attacking an enemy ship, if its speed is higher than yours, roll 1 additional blue dice. And this is at any range as well, so it did work at long range. Now, looking at this on paper, what do Victory Star Destroyers not want to do? Be going very fast. They can't maneuver the minute they hit speed 2, which means they want to stay at speed 1 so they can at least get that one little tick of yaw to like turn around. What does Admiral Konstantine do? He changes speeds. Specifically, he can actually speed people up, which nothing else in the game could do. Which meant that he could always turn your quad laser turrets on, because you could force the enemy ship to be going at speed 2. As long as your victories remained at speed 1, they would always get the extra dice, and then you could use leading shots where you would take on these victories, and a few other things. And I realised, I was like, well, here's a list, right? You take 3 Victory 2 Star Destroyers, and you took the quad battery turrets, leading shots, and dip caps, and that put each ship to be about 100 points each. Now, one of those was your flagship. It had Admiral Konstantine on it, and then that also had Minister Tua. She was a 2-point crew upgrade that just gave you the defensive retrofit slot, which allowed you to take electronic countermeasures on the flagship, just so it didn't get just taken off the board by like a good like broadside or something. And the rest of the list was filled out with a very basic Imperial fighter screen for the time. It had Marek Steele, Colonel Jendon, and I don't actually remember what the other ones were. They were fighters that I believe could operate independently though, so they might have been fire sprays. Or I'm vague recollections there actually was TIE Advanced in there. I think it might have been 2 TIE Advanced just to like give escort to Marek and Jendon and then to like tie people up. I think it might have been double TIE Advanced actually, and then Marek, Jendon, and potentially even another TIE fighter. Whatever, we did not bid in this list, and that was the list. And I played practice games with it just as a meme, and it was quite good actually, because effectively the strategy was you slow roll your victories at speed 1, and then you got into long range, you forced them to be going faster than you, you pop dip caps, and you just alpha struck your opponent's ships, and your guys would have the 6 dice out the front from the Victory Star Destroyer. You get the 1 extra one for the quad turrets, and then you'd concentrate fire basically the whole game to get extra ones. It even turned their broadsides kind of good, because it upped the Victory Star Destroyer's broadsides to being like a 4 dice shot. It's pretty good. At least at medium range, if you can get some like double things. The other important thing was that if you were dealing with really fast ships like the Karelian corvettes and stuff, Konstantine could actually slow them down. He could also, at like worst comes to worst, he could slow down an enemy ship back to speed 1 to stop them from getting away from you. So he did have some utility. The problem was that like the minute they took out one of your ships, he just got worse and worse and worse. So yeah, that was the basic list idea. And for missions, we took the one that let you shoot twice. It was the red mission was the one that let you shoot twice, and it gave ships gave half points if they were half damaged. So that was the first one. The second one was the space station mission, because having 3 Victory Star Destroyers, your opponent is not taking that space station off you, because these guys have the command value of Star Destroyers, and so if you can just get the 3 of them just to sort of do a daisy chain around the space station at the end of the game, like you're just going to score so many points on that. And the last one was minefields, just because minefields was it forced your opponents to deploy in a way that was advantageous to you. So yeah, that was the missions. And another last thing that was important here, this list did not bid any points. In Armada, for those of you who never really played Armada, there's no random dice roll to see who goes first in a game. Whoever has the lowest amount of points spent goes first. Gets to choose if they go first or second, but it goes first normally. And if you have the same bid, or if there's no bids, then you do roll to see who goes first. But so that was a strategic thing you had to figure out when list building. And so you'd have sort of 3 types of lists. The first one would bid a lot. I remember there was a top tier tournament list at one point that was bidding 20-something points, which is like, you could get a flotilla for that. That's like a good fighter squadron for that, because it wanted to go first so badly. Then there are other lists that just don't bid at all, like this one. You just go to 400. You just keep buying upgrades and like TIE fighters and stuff until you're at the maximum points, because you know you're not going to beat anybody who actually wants to go first. And then you'd have the people who bid like 1 or 2 or 3 points. just because they couldn't fit anything else, or they're like, well, we're going to beat whoever's not bidding, but I'm not sacrificing any efficiency here to try and outbid the people who are really aggressively bidding. And there was a huge issue with this list, this triple victory list. If it went second, it struggled. It wasn't impossible to win, but if it went first, it actually had a pretty good win rate, like close to 100% win rate. If it went second, that win rate dropped to like less than 50%. So that was the problem. That's what we learned from the test games. Not that many test games have been done. Anyway, so to get back to this, there was a store championship with full price support, like 24 people, I think, were going. 20 to 24 people. I can't remember exactly how many. It was a big tournament though, and the guys coming down, and I was like, well, I want to run my Admiral Konstantine list. The last tournament I'd been to had been the regionals, which I'd had to drop from after winning my first round, unfortunately. And I did not want to play Vader Architects again. And I said, you know what, I want to do triple victories. I think that's funny. And the problem is, I had 2 Victory Star Destroyers, and I had 2 dip caps and a quad laser. What I needed was to borrow somebody's Victory Star Destroyer and then the other upgrade cards I needed, because the way that like buying the cards worked is I would have had to have bought like 2 to 3 of a ship that I never even used just to get enough cards. So luckily I had enough friends I could just like borrow stuff from. But anyway, I showed up to the tournament with this absolute meme, like with the what was widely considered to be the worst admiral in the game. And my ploy is people are going to underestimate this list, and that did happen. People are going to underestimate this list, and they're going to make mistakes, and it's going to be able to capitalize. If this list became an actual meta list, it would never work, because the minute it goes against like a really pretty much any top tier list, it's going to lose. And B, once people understand the strategy to the list, this element of surprise is gone, so therefore it's bad. But it worked as a pretty good, like, you know, anti-meta, I guess. And so we get to round 1, and we are against a pretty old school style demolisher list. It was like, I think it was double gladiators, and yeah, so that's that was that, and I believe we went second in this one. And I believe he picked the opening, the advanced gunnery one, mission to do. And things started off pretty well for us, because our Alpha Strike was so good. Because his gladiators have to get to close range to be a threat, because they were predominantly like a missile boat. Now, when they got to range 1 of our Victory Star Destroyers, that Victory Star Destroyer was going bye-bye. But the victories could just snipe them out of the air, and things were going really well. But we actually lost round 1, and it was very close. And what happened was, I had destroyed one of his gladiators, and whatever other ship he had, I think he had like a troop carrier, like a fighter carrier to like command his bombers about. Now, I was going to table him. In Armada, if you table your opponent, you just win. Like, which is something I feel like games like Warhammer should really still have. But like, it boggles my mind that you can get tabled in Warhammer and still win. But anyway, so in Armada, if you destroyed every capital ship your opponents had, it was game over. You just won. You just won the game with a decisive victory or whatever. You were treated as having like the max point differential that you could have. And he had 1 gladiator left at the end of the game. And I just couldn't catch it. I just could not quite catch it. I think he destroyed Konstantine, to be honest, and he'd half damaged, and he'd got damage onto one of my other victories, which meant that unfortunately, because of the mission, that victory was now giving him half of its points as victory points for the mission, for the mission primary. And my victories, there was one that was chasing him, but it couldn't catch it, and the other one was completely mispositioned because it had been the one that had killed like his other gladiator. And so it was just sort of trying to stay away from the bomber screen. And man, it was close. It came down to 1 dice roll, if I remember rightly, and he managed to dodge it, and I was like, oh no. Because that would have been it. If my victory could have just caught that gladiator, it would have been a vic. It would have been a victory. Clues in the name, Victory Star Destroyers getting victories. It didn't happen. And unfortunately, I did lose round 1. It was pretty close. It was very close. So, but I was like, whatever. I'm kind of expecting to lose pretty much every game here anyway, because I am playing. I think Admiral Ozzel was worse than Konstantine. But he was the only one that was really in the consideration at the time for who was worse. Every Rebel Admiral was better. But then again, the Rebels had really good Admirals. Like, the Imperials kind of struggled for Admirals. Because Tarkin was terrible. Vader was overcosted, but could be good. And at the time you had Screed was very specific. You had Admiral Sloane, who was also very specific. You had Admiral Konstantine, who was considered the worst one. You had Admiral Ozzel, who was also considered pretty bad. You had Moff Jerjerrod, I guess, who was okay. And then you had... Am I missing one? I'm missing one. But I can't remember who it is. But anyway... The when you compare that to Akbar or Riken or even Dodonna, the Rebels really had good admirals compared to the Imperials. But anyway, so we go into the we're going to submarine this tournament, which we did do. So we go into round 2, and I really don't know what this other person's list was. This list was just. I took a look at it, and when I walked over the table, I was like, I'm going to lose. Because I could see the models, but I couldn't see what upgrades were on it. And I was like, I'm going to lose because it was 3 Imperial Star Destroyers. Now, normally, especially in the meta that we were in at the time, 3 Victory Star Destroyers was a lot of firepower and a lot of hit points to chew through. The problem is, 3 Imperial Star Destroyers is just my list except better. And I don't really have bombers. I think the TIE Defender was a bomber, and he could fight twice because of Jendon. The TIE Advance got a black dice against ships, but, like, it didn't do crits, so it was okay. Because I think the only crit on a black dice had a crit and a hit, so, like, it hit, but it wouldn't do double damage, so they were just kind of, like, there, and I was like... And then I saw what the guy had, and I was like, either this guy is, like, playing 8D chess here and trying to do what I'm doing at this tournament. That was one version. Version B was, I was like, is this just the new meta? Like, is this actually good? And version C was, this guy's terrible at the game, and I hate to say it, I think he was just really bad. So he had 3 of the Simoon refits of the Imperial Star Destroyers, which basically gave them a lot more red dice. They were cheaper as well. Here's the thing. With disposable capacitors, my victories actually outdamaged him, consistently at long range, which is where these guys want to fight. So immediately his advantage was gone, which was the Simoon refits wanted to do long range fire, like alpha strikes basically, which is also what I was doing, and I could do it better because I got my blue dice at long range for the first shot. He also didn't have Vader as his admiral, which was also a very big surprise for me, because Vader was the reason that the Simoon was really good, because you could spend your defense tokens to reroll dice, which made red dice significantly better, because they had very good potential, but they were very inaccurate, but Vader made them much more accurate. Now, that's who I expected to be the admiral? No, it was Admiral Motti, who was considered the best admiral for the Empire, or at least the most dependable admiral for the Empire. And basically, he just gave your ships extra hit points based on their size. He gave small ships 1 extra hit point, he gave medium ships 2 extra hit points, and he gave large ships 3 extra hit points. So to be fair, all his Star Destroyers were very tanky. It was a lot of damage that you had to do to destroy them, because Motti was making them all big. And I don't think he had any fighters at all. He had a bunch of random upgrades on them, but he didn't have leading shots. So he had no rerolls, was the problem. So he was relying on the luck of the dice. And this game was the shortest tournament game of Armada I think I've ever played. I think it was like 15 minutes, including setup. So we set up. I don't remember the mission. It's not relevant. So the first 2 turns, nobody can attack each other, because we both are going at speed 1 and trying to stay away, as far away from each other as possible. Turn 3 comes along. I don't remember who went first here, but one of his Star Destroyers came into range. So Konstantine triggers and ups his speed to 2. And we just shoot out the sky. 2 victories just unload their full... batteries into it and just blow it to hell. And then the victories move forward, the Imperial Star Destroyers move forward, and we just make a kill box and we just shred these ISDs. Like, they are just destroyed. We have rerolls, we get extra dice, we are shooting like we're an ISD too, out the front with a concentrate fire plus the quad lasers, which Konstantine is making sure are always activated. We are just deleting like a Star Destroyer a turn, and I think we might have lost a victory here. I think we did, but we just table him. Like, our squadrons just start nipping at his heels, and it was just a bloodbath. Like, this guy could do nothing. And so, yeah, we were 1-1 by now. We had a very decisive victory and a very close defeat, which meant that on the we were going to probably be paired up, and I think we were paired up. I can't remember, this was so long ago, but I'm pretty sure we were paired up for round 3. And round 3, this was kind of cinematic. This felt like, you know, game 1 was against the Imperials, and we lost. We lost the war game. Game 2 was against the Imperials, so we're getting like, Vader's given us one more chance to prove ourselves, and we won. We earned Vader's respect. And now, game 3, we're against the rebels. We have been sent into battle against a proper rebel fleet, against Admiral Akbar, no less. And this was a fully kitted out, tournament competitive Admiral Akbar list. It was a little out of date, I think, because Akbar had kind of fallen out of favour for a few other rebel admirals by then, but he was still a force to be reckoned with. And basically what Admiral Akbar did was, if you chose to only broadside for a turn, he gave you like 2 extra dice, I think. And so you took ships that really wanted a broadside. And yeah, you just tried to shred people. And we get to the game. He had some fighters, he had like 2 big ships and like a couple little ones. And he sees the list and he clearly underestimates it. Clearly underestimates it. But we get there, we get to the round. And now, here's the thing. And this is basically what decided this game. And if he'd known what the list was, this is where I say, like, if this list became an actual, like, meta list, it would have never done this. It would have lost this game, probably. But because he didn't know what he was looking at, he made a big tactical blunder. Now, Admiral Akbar, the sort of paint-by-numbers tactics for him at the time was that you wanted to go second. And you wanted to go second, I can't really remember why, because I think you wanted, like, your opponent to have to move into range of you, I think was what I wanted to do. Now, here's the thing, against this list, you really want to go first, because you want to be able to shoot the victories, and then get out of their firing range, because they're very slow. So he gives me first player, because he had, like, bid, like, 2 points or something. So he gives me first player, and, so I have to pick the mission. I can't remember what the mission was, I don't think it matters. And so, we do it again. We alpha strike. Now, Admiral Akbar relies on really good long-range attacks, like to weaken my shields and stuff. The problem is, I'm getting my full dice armament at long range once per game, which a lot of the time is all that I need. And so the victories do manage to decisively, I think we tabled Akbar. I'm pretty sure I think we tabled him as well. So this list had a lot of damage. Like, we tabled 2 opponents and we almost tabled the first one. And we won. Quite decisively won. And then it comes time to announce the top 4. The top 4 got extra prizes, remember, really? Also just the top 4, like, it's a big deal. This is only a single day tournament, like, single day 3 rounds, pretty standard. And because our tiebreakers and, like, our just numerical stats are really good, because we had such a close defeat and then 2 crushing victories, we beat out everyone else who went 2-1 and just nabbed that 4th place. Admiral Konstantine was listed on a massive Toronto tournament as in the top 4 admirals of that tournament. Felt like $1 million. It's the best I've ever done in an Armada tournament. It's not the best I've ever done in an actual tournament. I top 4'd a no, that was top 8, sorry. I top 8'd a X-Wing Store Championship back when those were really big. I also top 2'd an X-Wing tournament once, actually. But I guess I came second in a Magic the Gathering game day once, so that was cool. But yeah, so that was it. That is the story of Admiral Konstantine, the best worst admiral in the Imperial Navy. And yeah. So thanks for watching. I hope this was entertaining at least a little bit for all 10 people out there who play Star Wars Armada still. I just post these on a board, to be honest with you. The channel I'm really not trying with at all. I saw I got like another subscriber, and the video's getting great views for some reason, but I don't know. I have a bunch of like very negative stories saved up of like salty players and like nightmare players and stuff like that, and a few of them I want to share, but I want to kind of try and keep it a little bit more positive. But I'm trying to get back into Warhammer. I'm still I painted 2 more Havocs today. I don't think I'll ever be using them in any competitive game of 40k, but I have a bunch of Havocs. The last cannons are nice. And I will probably be trying to do some like battle reports and stuff when I get back into 40k. But as far as other things, I'll maybe start posting polls of what stories people want to hear. You know, from this hobby angle, and we'll see. But thanks very much for watching, and if you like this video, like it and subscribe. I guess. I mean, whatever. Have a good one.